Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Six Questions with Alona. That's me. And today with us, we have our wonderful chair, Jennifer Curan. Hi, Jen.
Hello.
Yay. We're here back to talk about another piece by Jen. She did a lot in fall. She was
Yay.
busy. She's a busy lady in
I
fall.
did.
So today we're going to talk about supported, as I lovingly call it, the bungee piece.
The
The
bungee piece that you
bungee
were
piece
in.
that I was in. Spoiler, you'll see me.
Spoiler.
So let's talk about that. What was kind of the creative process and inspiration for this work?
I have wanted to do a piece with bungees for I don't even know how long, like as long as I've been an adult. So possibly going back to high school, and I just never had the right theater
Yeah.
rehearsal space. Like it just never really like worked out. And I've been working with Christian, who's our slow motion video, who was involved with this process, but he is an athletic trainer. And I was explaining to him like kind of what I wanted to do. And I think he helped me able to like really visualize how the bungees could work from an athletic training point standard. Cause I was like, it could be fat. I didn't necessarily even think it had to be bungees. I was just like, I want it to be attached to the wall and there to be friction. And like, then he was like, you mean like those bungees that you do cross? And I was like, oh yeah. And then he sent me to a website that got, like longer ones and kind of headed me in the right direction for the equipment to start the exploration process. And then that kind of led, I feel like, into the development of all the ideas.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it definitely was like logistics needed to be worked out for that kind of a piece with all the equipment and stuff for sure.
Exactly. And we got lucky because the theater, like I knew that we could attach to the rail, and Dawn helped us kind of figure out how we could do that safely.
Yeah.
and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was always a concern too. So how did you go about choosing your music, the costumes, all that kind of stuff?
So I got really, really lucky as I found out about this amazing music composer named Michael Wall. And I reached out to him, explained kind of what I wanted, what my budget was. And he was like, I have an idea. I think you're going to like it. So we chatted on the phone for maybe an hour, hour and a half. Wow. And then he, within like a week, sent me a recording. And I was like, yes, that is it. And I knew I wanted something that didn't have rhythm, that wasn't necessarily following a certain meter or metric, because the dance didn't have like per se counts or accents in that same way. And so he was able to do that. And then he was able to also build in some drama at the end for a build. And it all really worked out. But I definitely think the music part ended up being more challenging for the dancers, because it really was impossible to count.
We had no idea what was happening.
There was like one landmark that they either made or didn't make to like set the rest of the piece. So it was finding a natural rhythm or timing within your guys's own movement vocabulary that was happening, and then trusting that you were gonna maintain that to get you to where you needed to be. Yes. And not be, influenced by adrenaline or fatigue or whatever it could possibly have stepped in.
There's a lot of extenuating factors with that piece.
Yeah, for sure. So that was music. Then the other big element in this piece was the film. So I knew I wanted it to have the film work projected onto panels. Which I had done before. So we did that, I think it was in 2018, spring of 2018.
That's
I believe. So it was my first project where I collaborated with Christian Robinson, who does slow motion guy. And that time we just used cell phones. So we were only looking at 240 frames per second on a iPhone 7. So we were old school, like back in the day. But it was a really fun project working with him. And then he since has gotten a really cool professional camera. And we've done a few other projects that weren't related to a live dance work. And so I was kind of like, I want to retry this idea. And originally I thought I wanted 3 panels. But when we started logistically figuring out how we could hang 3 panels, that just didn't work.
Yeah.
So we went for a little bit bigger panels, but we made sure they were high enough that the dancers weren't restricted by movement on the stage, because we wanted to obviously still use the full stage. And the last time the panels were actually low, so the dancers had to dance in front of them or behind them. They couldn't, so they had to maneuver them. And I knew that couldn't be a thing this time around. Yeah.
No.
So we went a little bigger with the panels, but then we used color this time. And then I was trying to be smart and not kill myself with all the projects I had. And we used Desiree Stafford to edit the films, which ended up being challenging as well, because she had never edited slow motion video. And that in and of itself is like a whole other beast. So there's no audio, which makes it easy, but then you have to ramp the videos in and out and connect it. And so there was all of that. Plus we have to use QLab to project it up on the screen and make sure the masks and all of that. So working with Matt Roy and Kristol and all of and Dawn, everyone. Dawn
everyone
made the
was
panels
involved
for
in
us.
Piece.
Yeah, everyone was involved in this piece. So it was definitely a lot of logistics, a lot of testing, a lot of seeing what would work and what would work. So we did the videos pre-semester, the day before the semester started. But we already done about, I don't know what, a third of the piece, half the piece over the summer.
We did I think we did over half, but then we had to rework it because we discovered that the stage wasn't as slidey as we wanted it to be.
Yes.
Yeah, we
so
did
then
a lot,
when we went
and
and
then
did,
we're like, uh-oh.
yeah. So then when we came and did the filming on the day of the semester, right before the semester started, we discovered that what we thought with our new Marley was not going to be feasible, which was actually a great blessing in disguise because we were able to fix that problem. So so I feel like there was definitely a lot of ebb and flow and changes on my part. Dancers had to ebb and flow and change. The great news is Christina made beautiful costumes, was able to make those belts look like they were just made for the transformed, and that was all done early because we were filming early. So then it was like a breath of, oh, I don't have to worry about any of that stuff, and we could just focus on getting the other elements put up and together. I don't know, am I forgetting any part? I was like, what else did this dance entail?
I think it was, we already talked about the bungees, the panels in the video, and the costuming and the music. That was
and Christina, with the bungees, we had to put black fabric over them. So we ended up, so that was kind of a feat because they were big and long bungees. And so we ended up finding black fabric that was already like in tubes and sewing it on versus having to make tubes. So there was definitely a lot of pre-planning, post-planning, a lot of elements.
Planning as we're doing it. Planning. How did you use the different experience levels and or styles of your dancers to display their talents in your piece? Because you had 3 very different dancers.
Very different. Yes and no. I feel like I got very fortunate because the 3 of you guys are all very professional and we're really open to like just playing with the equipment, one, and 2, just like trying whatever crazy idea I had, like, hey, and I'd put on the bungee and I'd throw you guys around and you guys were like, okay, cool. So I definitely think there's a lot of experimenting with that, and I had to have dancers that were open and mature enough to be able to like handle that, like, hey, can you do this? You need to know what your limitations are. I definitely saw all women for this piece. That was something that for me, just trying to show that women can be as athletic, but not like in competition with gender roles at all, I think were really important. Did the dome piece in the past that was all men, and I think that was really effective to show, men's strength and use of an apparatus. So this was my woman version of that, I guess.
I love that. For this piece, did you use any like different techniques that you haven't used before? Any other kind of like new stylings?
I feel like we were so restricted with the bungees that really dictated so much, but I definitely know it wasn't a new style to me, but it was a new style to dancers, was working with like contact improv and then building set choreography out of that contact improv. So I came in with ideas of how I wanted things to translate. And we played particularly with you and Mia's duet and the trios at the end. There's that kind of happened. And then even Martha's exploration on the wall and her little solo that came across the front. It was definitely playing with each other, sharing weight, that idea of supported. How can you be supported by something? How can you be supported through each other? How does the ground support you? How does the wall support you? Like,
Yeah.
what is that idea of support, and how can you, access it from so many different ways? In fact, we even were talking about how it's like emotional, it goes
Totally.
into emotional support and even
Yeah.
deeper than just the physical. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of plays into like the feminine friendship thing too. Like
Hmm.
we're like, and I mean, we had such a bond doing it that it made it even that much more fun to like be playing with the idea of supported, because we all like each other so much. So we're like, yeah, I
Yeah,
want to catch you. I don't want you to fall down. Um,
exactly.
yeah, so it kind of played into what we were working with anyways. Um, was there any specific like memorable moment or difficult situation that you can remember?
I
I
mean,
mean,
for
other than,
me, probably the best time I had was filming day.
yeah,
Like, I just loved that. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I like feel like I was so like didn't realize how tired I was until it was all over.
yeah, hit
And
like a
like,
brick wall.
yeah, like and it changed so much. I feel like again, if I did this again, I would have so much more information to work with. And that's how I felt the first time. Like, we really stepped it up, and we had, lights and this great, amazing camera, and we're filming in 1500 frames per second to like 600 frames per second. When you think about, before we were only doing 240, that's like
Yeah, it's
insane how
huge.
slow it was,
Yeah.
and how that all came out with. I think too, just working with a video editor made me realize too, I like how I have to give over that power if I'm going to
Mm,
do that, to like have things be like, maybe I had an image in my mind of how things would be, and to just give that over and really work in a collaborative way,
yeah.
and not be able to control everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
which was nice and challenging,
Yeah.
in different ways.
Well, yeah. Well, especially because yeah, you are always in control of everything. For us, at least
Yeah,
at IBC, you're in charge. And so yeah, I know that's hard for you to be like, no, do it, but also so good for you to kind of
yeah.
let yourself breathe in that moment for sure. What would you like to say to any potential student or choreographers that want to come to IBC?
Well, come, because this is to me, what one thing that's really cool about IVC is that we're really open to this idea of collaboration. So if you have some like crazy idea or some desire to work with something or someone else outside of dancers and what we typically see in, a dance department, like maybe you're like, oh, I want to work with an artist, or I want to work with, I don't know, a musician or something, or you have some like random outside person you're interested in slow motion video. If you've got some other weird dream, like, come to us and tell
Yeah.
us what your dream is, and we will find a way to make that happen.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the things that really is unique about us, is that we're really open to looking and exploring into new ideas.
Definitely. Lots of collaboration happening. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's what this piece should have been. The
Yeah.
supported collaboration.
Yeah. A collaboration of the IVC arts department
Yeah,
across.
and in fact, here, I even have to pull this out so everyone can see it.
Oh, I mean,
So I even commissioned an artist to use some of the
yeah.
video
Oh, I
still
love it so
photos
much.
to make. Yeah, so I have it sitting here in my office so I can see my beautiful dancers. So she watercolored that, and then the dancers got their own versions of that as well.
Hang up in there.
So yeah, I was like, even down to the end of it, it was collaboration with a visual
Full artist
artist.
collaboration.
Yeah, I was like,
It
who
really
else
was.
can we collaborate with on this piece?
Listen, it's all about supporting. It was a very supportive piece amongst all the people working on it. So it was, yeah, it was amazing. It was such, I
Yeah.
mean, just as a dancer, it was such a fun experience going from you telling us we're going to be bungeed to a wall to what it ended up being. It was not at
Mhm.
all what any of us expected, but also exactly what we kind of expected. It was it
Yeah.
was a really fun process to be a part of. We definitely had a lot of fun in rehearsals.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting too, because I feel like I'm not sure that the climax of performing this piece was like as big of a high as it is for other pieces,
Mm,
because of all the other things that were involved. Like, when I look back, like, the performance was great and I really enjoyed seeing it on stage,
yeah,
but everything else that happened, even down to like one of Martha being sick during the tech
yeah,
rehearsal, and like
yeah,
Rory, my daughter, like putting on the bungee, and like, but there were so many like just fun little like surprises that
yeah.
I enjoyed the process so much that it's like I can't even compare it to the end product in my mind.
I can't speak for the other girls, but like for sure the process getting to stage was what was so fun about it. Working with the bungees and working with each other. And yeah, having weird things happen. And we're like, Rory, put on this bungee, you know, like just, and even filming day, we were all so exhausted, but we had so much fun doing it. Like all those braiding each other's hair before the, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like it was such like a fun experience that like performing it was like, yeah, we're performing. This is great. But leading up to it, it's incredible.
It was so much more. It really was like, I feel like it should be like a document, like a,
we should document it.
A documentary film like about the process would be just as interesting as the, you know, final video piece of it as
100%.
well.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It was fun. Thanks for letting me be part of it.
Yeah, I was happy to have you.
All right, everybody, we hope you enjoy Supported. Thanks.
Bye.